There are moments in history when silence becomes betrayal, when standing on the sidelines is no longer an option. Today, we are living through one of those moments, a time when politics feels like theater, where words are rehearsed, smiles are scripted, and truth is a casualty of ambition. But every once in a while, someone steps into that storm and refuses to play by the rules. Someone who reminds us that leadership is not about performance, it's about purpose. This is not a speech about politics. This is a speech about honesty, about the power of one person who chooses to stay true when every system around them demands compromise. It's about a leader who doesn't trade values for votes, who doesn't bend truth to fit headlines, and who believes that integrity is not a weakness, but a weapon of change. When the world tells them to act, they choose to feel. When others chase applause, they chase authenticity. So tonight, I want you to listen not just with your ears, but with your heart, because what you're about to hear isn't just a story, it's a challenge. A challenge to rethink what leadership really means, to ask yourself, what would happen if we stopped rewarding those who perform and started believing in those who mean it? What would happen if we measured success not by how loud someone speaks, but by how honestly they live? This is a story about courage, the kind of courage that doesn't come from anger or arrogance, but from conviction. It's about refusing to wear the masks the world expects you to and daring to stand barefaced in the truth. It's about fighting not against politics, but above it, rising beyond the games, the strategies, and the spin, and leading with something deeper, something real. Because at the end of the day, people don't remember speeches, slogans, or campaigns. They remember character. They remember the ones who didn't just talk about change, but became it. And that's what this speech is about. So sit back, open your mind, and let this message remind you of something we've almost forgotten, that integrity still matters, that truth still inspires, and that even in a world built on illusion, one honest voice can still move a nation. The power of principle over popularity is the heartbeat of true leadership, a rare rhythm that only a few can carry in a world obsessed with applause. When everyone around you is chasing the spotlight, it takes extraordinary courage to walk into the shadows of conviction, knowing that truth is not always celebrated. Principle is the compass that never lies, even when the storm of public opinion tries to pull it off course. Popularity can fill halls with noise, but only principle can fill hearts with faith. It's the silent force that separates those who seek fame from those who seek purpose. To stand on principle is to stand alone, often misunderstood, often mocked, but never defeated. It means choosing what's right when what's easy promises rewards. In every generation, there are those who refuse to bend their truth to fit the trends, who would rather lose with integrity than win with deceit. These are not the politicians of convenience, but the leaders of conscience. Their words don't just echo in speeches, they live in the actions they take when no one is watching. They understand that leadership is not a performance, but a responsibility. Not about making people like you, but about inspiring them to believe in what's right, even when it's hard. Principle over popularity means saying no when the crowd demands a yes. It's walking away from the deal that looks perfect on paper, but poisons your purpose. It's refusing to trade authenticity for approval. The greatest trap for any leader is the illusion of acceptance, the idea that you must please everyone to make progress. But true progress doesn't come from pleasing people. It comes from challenging them to rise. Popularity is fragile. It lives in the moment. Principle is eternal. It lives in memory long after the cheers fade and the headlines shift. What remains is not how many followed you, but how many found themselves because of you. Choosing principle over popularity is not about being rebellious for the sake of defiance. It's about being consistent in a world that rewards contradiction. It means holding your ground even when that ground starts to shake. It means carrying your truth not like a sword to attack others, but like a torch to light the way. The power of principle doesn't lie in being loud. It lies in being unwavering. People may not agree with you today, but they will remember that you stood when others bowed. There's a quiet dignity in staying true to yourself. In a time when people measure success in numbers, votes, followers, views, it takes strength to measure it in values. That's what separates those who chase validation from those who create vision. When you refuse to compromise your principles for temporary approval, you send a message that integrity is still possible. You remind people that leadership isn't about pretending to be perfect. It's about being honest enough to be real. And yes, the path of principle is lonely. It doesn't come with applause or quick rewards, but it carries something deeper, peace. The peace of knowing that you didn't lose yourself to win the world. The peace of knowing that your reflection in the mirror tells the truth even if the cameras don't. Every movement that ever changed history began with someone who cared more about the mission than the image. The power of principle over popularity is the essence of moral rebellion. The refusal to let the world's noise drown out your inner voice. It's proof that real leadership doesn't come from being followed, but from being remembered. because popularity fades with the moment, but principle that lives forever. The cost of integrity in a corrupted system is a price very few are willing to pay because it demands everything and promises nothing in return. In a world where deception is currency and loyalty is often sold to the highest bidder, to remain honest is not a political act. It is an act of rebellion. Integrity is not the absence of temptation. It's a decision to rise above it. It means standing in a room full of opportunity and still refusing to pick what does not belong to you. It means knowing that truth will not make you rich, but it will make you real. And in a time where everyone is performing, being real is the boldest act of all. Every system built on power begins to rot when it forgets its purpose, when service turns into self-preservation and truth becomes negotiable. To exist within such a system and still walk with integrity is to carry fire in your hands, to know that the same principles that keep you pure will also make you dangerous to those who thrive in the shadows. Integrity is not just about honesty, it's about resistance, the quiet defiance of someone who refuses to let corruption define them. It's the refusal to sign the wrong deal, to stay silent when silence is complicity, to stand up when standing still would be safer. The cost of that choice is not just political, it's personal. Integrity isolates you. It takes away friends who can't profit from your truth. It distances you from allies who prefer convenience over courage. It earns you enemies you never intended to make, but it also earns you something far greater: self-respect. You can lose elections, headlines, or positions, but if you still have your integrity, you've lost nothing that truly matters. Because at the end of the day, when the cameras are gone and the stage lights fade, you are left with only one question. Did you stand for what was right, or did you kneel to what was wrong? Integrity often walks hand in hand with sacrifice. You will sacrifice comfort, opportunity, and sometimes even safety. The corrupted system does not reward honesty. It punishes it. It will label you as difficult, idealistic, or unrealistic. But these are just the names the fearful give to the fearless. When you refuse to bend the truth, you remind the world that morality still matters, that decency has not gone extinct. In every era, the voices that chose integrity over influence were the ones that shaped history, not because they were loud, but because they were real. The irony is that corruption cannot truly destroy integrity. It can only test it, and every test strengthens those who survive it. The corrupted system is built to break people, to wear down their will until they mistake compromise for wisdom. But those who refuse to play that game expose the truth, that the system fears those it cannot control. Integrity becomes their armor. It shields them not from pain, but from shame. It allows them to walk through fire without burning because their purpose burns brighter. Integrity is the one thing that cannot be faked, and that's why it's feared. Power can be borrowed, fame can be faked, but integrity that is earned only through struggle. The cost of it may seem unbearable in the moment, but its value outlives every scandal, every betrayal, every lie. It's what keeps your name clean in the mud of politics. It's what allows people to believe you even when they don't agree with you. The cost of integrity in a corrupted system is high. It can strip you of comfort, privilege, and peace, but it gives you something the corrupted can never have: freedom, the freedom to look the world in the eye and know that you owe it nothing, the freedom to walk through chaos and still sleep with a clear conscience. And in a world where everything has a price, integrity remains the one thing that is priceless. Refusing to play the game means redefining it, not with words, but with actions that shake the very ground the system stands on. The game of politics has long been a theater where image outweighs intention, where truth is edited to fit into sound bites, and where leaders learn to smile while surrendering their souls. To refuse to play that game is to refuse the script, to walk off the stage, and to start rewriting what leadership should look like. It is an act of defiance that says, I will not trade authenticity for acceptance. It is the kind of rebellion that does not scream. It stands when someone chooses to lead with truth instead of tactics. They challenge the foundation of every corrupted habit that keeps the system alive. The political game rewards conformity. It wants predictable moves, rehearsed lines, and polite obedience to invisible rules. It wants players, not pioneers. But to reject that structure is to introduce something the system cannot handle. Unpredictability rooted in honesty. That's what makes it revolutionary. Because the moment you stop trying to win their game, you start creating your own. And that's when real change begins. Redefining politics means reminding people that leadership was never meant to be a profession. It was meant to be a service. When you remove the filters, the calculations, and the manipulations, What remains is a human being who speaks for other human beings. That is what the establishment fears the most. A leader who is too real to control, too honest to corrupt, and too connected to the people to be silenced. The refusal to play politics is not arrogance, it's courage. It's the decision to be transparent in a world built on secrets. It's the willingness to be misunderstood today, to be meaningful tomorrow. When you refuse to play, you stop pretending that power is the goal. You start showing that power is just a tool, one that should serve people, not rule them. You expose the difference between leadership and manipulation, between public service and personal ambition. You remind the crowd that politics was supposed to be about justice, not about gamesmanship. And when the public sees that, when they feel truth in your words and consistency in your actions, they begin to believe again, not just in you, but in the idea that change is still possible. Of course, redefining the game comes with consequences. The establishment does not welcome disruption. It will try to isolate you, misrepresent you, and turn your integrity into a weapon against you. It will call you naive for believing that truth can survive in politics. But the beauty of refusing to play is that you are not trying to survive. You are trying to transform. You are not fighting for a seat at their table. You are building a new one where everyone has a place. And once people see that, they will start questioning why they ever accepted the old rules in the first place. The refusal to play politics is an invitation to imagine leadership that doesn't rely on manipulation, to believe in honesty without agenda, and to rebuild systems that serve instead of control. It's a reminder that progress doesn't come from players who mastered the game, but from dreamers who dared to rewrite it. This kind of leadership doesn't shout for attention. It earns respect through consistency. It doesn't seek approval, it seeks truth. To refuse to play is to rise above the noise, to lead not as a politician, but as a person. It's about proving that conviction can outlast calculation and that authenticity can outshine ambition. In a world where everyone wants to win, the real victory is not losing yourself. The game may continue, but its power fades the moment someone shows that you don't need to play it to make a difference. That's how change begins. Not when someone joins the game, but when someone has the courage to redefine it. The people's trust is earned, not bought. And that truth is the foundation of every movement that has ever mattered. In a world where political loyalty is often purchased through promises, influence, or fear, genuine trust cannot be manufactured. It can't be printed on posters or scripted in speeches. It is built slowly, quietly, through consistency, humility, and authenticity. You cannot buy trust because it's not a transaction. It's a relationship. And like every relationship, it's fragile, it's sacred, and it's built on the simple question, do you mean what you say? When a leader refuses to play politics, what they're really doing is earning that trust one act at a time. People may not always agree with your decisions, but they can sense when your intentions are pure. They can feel it in your tone, your eyes, your choices. Trust isn't built when you speak. It's built when you listen. It's born in the moments when you stand beside the people who have been ignored, when you show up not for cameras, but for causes, when you speak truth, even when silence would be safer. Every person can spot the difference between performance and sincerity, between someone who talks about change and someone who is willing to pay the price for it. The political world thrives on illusion, on carefully crafted words that sound compassionate but conceal calculation. People have grown tired of being spoken to like statistics. They want to be seen as human beings, not voters. They want to feel that their pain matters, their voices count, and their stories are being heard. That's where trust begins. In the act of being real, a leader earns trust not by pretending to have all the answers, but by admitting that they're still learning, still growing, still human. That vulnerability is powerful because it creates connection. It says, I don't stand above you, I stand with you. Buying loyalty through empty words or fleeting favors may win elections, but it never wins hearts. True trust doesn't come from persuasion. It comes from proof. Every promise kept, every moment of transparency, every refusal to compromise on values adds another brick to the bridge between people and leadership. And once that bridge is built, no propaganda, no opposition, no power can destroy it because it's not built on fear or fantasy. It's built on faith. Earning trust also means accepting that it can't be forced, it must be deserved. The people may test you, they may doubt you, and they have every right to, because they've been lied to too many times. Their trust is sacred, and they guard it fiercely. But when they finally see that your actions echo your words, when they realize that you show up even when it's inconvenient, that's when the walls begin to fall. They don't follow you because they have to. They follow you because they want to, because they believe again. A leader who earns trust understands that people don't want perfection. They want presence. They don't want polished words. They want honest ones. They don't want promises. They want proof. Trust is the invisible thread that binds a leader to their people, and once it's broken, it's almost impossible to repair. That's why those who lead with sincerity protect it with everything they have. The people's trust cannot be bought because it cannot be faked. It's not found in political slogans or grand speeches. It's found in the quiet, unseen moments, the long nights, the hard decisions, the sacrifices made when no one is watching. It's the purest form of power because it's given freely, not demanded. And when a leader earns it, they don't just hold authority, they hold hearts. That is the kind of power that changes nations, not through dominance, but through belief. Because when people trust you, they don't just listen, they join you. They fight beside you. They become part of something larger than politics, a movement of faith in what is right. Courage is louder than campaigns because it speaks in a language that cannot be scripted or rehearsed. In the world of politics, campaigns are designed to persuade, to polish, to please, but courage tells the truth even when no one wants to hear it. Campaigns are about strategy. Courage is about soul. Campaigns may fill stadiums with noise, but courage fills hearts with conviction. It's the difference between saying what's popular and saying what's necessary. When someone chooses courage over comfort, they're not just rejecting fear, they're redefining what leadership truly means. Courage is not the absence of fear, it's the mastery of it. Every leader feels the weight of consequence, the backlash, the criticism, the risk of losing everything they've built. But courage whispers, do it anyway. It's the voice that speaks when the microphones are off, the conscience that refuses to stay silent when injustice stands tall. Campaigns are temporary, courage is timeless. The slogans may fade, the posters may peel, but the courage to tell the truth becomes legend. Real courage doesn't shout to be heard. It stands firm when the world tries to silence it. In a political system built on calculation, courage is chaos. It disrupts the order of manipulation and forces the powerful to confront their own reflection. The courageous don't wait for the perfect moment. They create it. They risk reputation for righteousness, position for principle, comfort for conscience. Their every act becomes a statement that leadership isn't about how well you play the game, but how bravely you stand when the rules are wrong, when a person refuses to bend their truth, when they speak for the voiceless and confront the untouchable. They do more than win hearts. They awaken them. Campaigns are about optics. They're crafted for applause. Courage is about outcome. It's forged in silence, in sacrifice, in struggle. Campaigns ask, what do people want to hear? Courage asks, what do people need to hear? And sometimes what people need to hear is uncomfortable. It challenges power, confronts privilege, and questions systems that profit from division. That's what makes courage dangerous, not because it breaks the rules, but because it exposes them. Those who carry courage as their weapon don't fear losing votes, they fear losing themselves. Courage is the bridge between belief and action. It's easy to dream about change, it's harder to live it. Every speech about justice means nothing without the bravery to stand against injustice when it's right in front of you. Courage is not found in words, it's proven in moments. When you refuse to stay quiet while others suffer, when you walk away from what's wrong, even if it costs everything. And though courage may not always be rewarded, it always inspires, because people may forget what was said in a campaign, but they never forget the moment someone stood up for what was right. The beauty of courage is that it multiplies. One act of bravery gives birth to another. When one person stands firm in truth, others find their voice. Courage breaks fear, like dawn breaks night. It reminds people that leadership is not about power. It's about presence, the kind of presence that says, I will not be moved, even when the storm hits hardest. In the end, campaigns are designed to win votes, but courage wins hearts. Campaigns end on election day, but courage lives on long after. It becomes a light for those still trapped in darkness, a voice for those still afraid to speak. The world doesn't remember those who played it safe. It remembers those who stood when it mattered. That's why courage is louder than campaigns, because while campaigns are built to impress, courage is built to inspire, and inspiration, once ignited, cannot be silenced. Leadership without masks is the rarest form of leadership because it demands a level of honesty that most people are afraid to live with. In a world where image has become a form of currency, where every gesture is rehearsed and every sentence calculated, being real feels revolutionary. To lead without masks means showing the world not just your strength, but your vulnerability, not just your vision, but your humanity. It means standing before people without filters, without facades, and saying, this is who I am, not perfect, not polished, but present. That kind of honesty disarms cynicism because people recognize truth when they see it. The problem with modern politics is that it's built on performance. Leaders are trained to smile through disappointment, to speak even when they have nothing to say, to wear confidence like armor while hiding fear behind it. They learn to act, not to feel. But the moment someone breaks that illusion and speaks from the heart, people listen differently. Authenticity cuts through noise because it carries the weight of reality. It doesn't need applause to feel powerful. Leadership without masks replaces manipulation with meaning. It says, I am not here to impress you. I am here to serve you. The strength of authenticity is that it creates connection. People don't follow perfection. They follow relatability. When a leader admits mistakes, listens more than they talk, and allows their imperfections to be seen, it gives others permission to believe that integrity is still possible. Masks may win attention, but truth wins trust. When a leader leads with honesty, they create a bond that no scandal or opposition can destroy, because even if the world disagrees with their decisions, it can't deny their sincerity. That's the quiet power of transparency. It turns leadership into something deeply human again. To lead without masks also means embracing the discomfort of being misunderstood. Authentic leaders will always be criticized by those who rely on illusions. They will be accused of being naive, emotional, or unstrategic. But what critics fail to see is that real strength doesn't come from perfection. It comes from purpose. A leader without masks does not fear judgment because they are not performing for approval. They are guided by conscience, not calculation. Their consistency becomes their credibility, and their honesty becomes their legacy. Leadership without masks doesn't mean being flawless. It means being fearless in truth. It means choosing transparency even when it exposes weakness, because you understand that vulnerability is not a flaw. It's proof that you are real. People don't need another perfect face on a poster. They need a human being who reminds them that integrity still has a place in leadership. They need someone whose words are not crafted to manipulate emotions, but to move hearts. They need someone who does not hide behind rhetoric, but walks boldly in reality. Every mask a leader wears creates distance. It separates them from the very people they claim to represent. But when those masks fall, when the rehearsed act fades and the real person steps forward, the distance disappears, the audience becomes a community. Leadership transforms from command into connection. And in that moment, politics becomes personal, not about winning power, but about restoring trust. In the end, leadership without masks is not just about being transparent, it's about being true. It's about proving that honesty can exist in places built on deception. It's about reminding people that leadership is not about perfection, but about presence, showing up with your truth even when it's uncomfortable. When a leader leads with authenticity, they inspire others to do the same. They turn disillusionment into hope, apathy into action, and politics into purpose. Because when the mask falls, humanity rises, and that, more than power, influence, or position, is what makes leadership truly unforgettable. In the end, this is not just a story about one leader. It's a reflection of what leadership should be. A reminder that in an age of performance, truth still has power. In a world of politics, integrity still has meaning. The refusal to play the game is not rebellion. It's renewal. It's the act of returning. Leadership to its purest purpose. Service. What we've seen in this journey is not a politician climbing a ladder of ambition, but a human being refusing to lose his soul for success. That is what makes this story extraordinary. Principle over popularity, integrity in the face of corruption, redefining the system instead of surrendering to it, earning trust instead of buying it, choosing courage when silence would be easier, leading without masks when the world demands performance. These are not just ideals. They are the foundations of real change, and it takes someone willing to stand alone, to face the noise, to defy the norms, and to hold truth higher than power, to remind us all what leadership was meant to be. This speech is not about politics. It's about purpose. It's about reminding each of us that the courage to be honest, the strength to stay true, and the conviction to lead with heart are not just for those in office. They're for every person who believes in something greater than themselves, because real change does not begin in parliaments or parties. It begins in people who refuse to settle for lies when they know truth is possible. So as we close, remember this: leadership isn't about being followed. It's about being remembered. And you are remembered not for the image you project, but for the truth you protect. Every voice that dares to speak with integrity becomes part of a larger echo, one that tells the world that honesty still matters, that compassion still wins, and that courage still inspires. Thank you for listening, for believing, and for being part of this moment of reflection and awakening. May you carry forward the spirit of conviction in whatever you do. Stand tall in your truth, even when it's lonely. Lead with your heart, even when it's heavy. And never forget The world doesn't change when people play the game. It changes when someone refuses to. Thank you and good luck on your own journey to lead with courage, live with integrity, and never stop believing in the power of truth.